the Hawks are like the homie that don't show up, right? I think we all think, hey, the Hawks, they could be pretty good. They're interesting. They got an interesting roster. You always invite them to the party, and then they don't show up, right? That was some light work, almost low-key disappointing. But in the grand scheme of things, you got to have nights like that, right? Every game can't be an intense wire job throughout 82 games. And I think the impressive thing for the Warriors was, look, they didn't shoot the seams off the ball, right? They were 14 of 40 from the three-point line, but they stuck to their identity and they got easy baskets, a ton of points in the paint because their defense led to transition and then the Hawks' effort, who we'll talk about them here in a minute. I want to focus on Trayce Jackson-Davis. What did he have? A 14, 11, and 4. And what do you know? You play him in the second half and he has an impact. He has an impact. And look, Trayce, watching the Indiana tape and coming him out, I thought he was going to be better offensively. I thought he was going to be more of a dynamic finisher. And he has some limitations as far as getting to his own shot in the paint. But there are so many micro skills and micro traits that build up what makes a player successful. And in that second half in particular, you saw him as the hub, right? Making decisions at the nail, the dribble handoff game. And Trayce has really good decision-making. He knows how to go from the first read to the second read. His timing is excellent on both ends of the floor, defensively and offensively, right? And he's a very good passer. And so one of Trayce's more impactful, better games of his young career. And I love seeing him get that opportunity late. And then even early on, putting him in the pick and rolls and in the Steph two-man game because of the vertical spacing. And he's a great passer. And Draymond is shooting the three. He didn't shoot it well last night, but he's shooting the three, we know well. And he's aggressive in the dunker spot. And so I love that kind of role reversal in letting Trayce make the decisions. I feel comfortable with him making decisions with the ball. And hopefully that trend continues where we see more Trayce in the second half of games and even closing games at times. Now, Wiggs, 27 points, super efficient. What was he, like 12 of 17? Most of it came in the flow of offense, leaking out on closeouts and running the floor and just making himself available, playing with that high motor. And so I'm not surprised, that it's coming together for him offensively because the effort, the energy, and the want has been there from day one this season. He's been building towards this. I know some of you early on, and I get why you're hesitant to say, this is a fluke, and how long is this gonna sustain? But here we are, 14 games here in the season, and it's sustained and it's building. So that's exciting. Now, I wasn't gonna address this. I did it on a VIP episode of my podcasts where I speak more candidly on stuff sometimes and stuff that I don't think is for necessarily public consumption. So I thought it would be irresponsible to make a thumbnail and make a video on this because there's no source to it. But at this point, enough people have messaged me and asked me about this that I will speak on it here briefly. There is a rumor that Andrew last season and before that was giving bone marrow transplants to his father, his ill father. Again, be clear, I am not reporting this as fact whatsoever. Until Andrew says it himself and his family says this is a rumor. It is a rumor. However, that would make a lot of things add up, right? That would explain a lot of things because unfortunately, if you ever have a loved one who is sick in the hospital, it's really a helpless feeling, right? There's not a lot you can do. It's in the hands of faith, right? And you can be there for them, right? In the hands of the doctors. And so that's why when we didn't know this information, it was okay, if his father is sick, you got to be gone for 2 months. And it didn't quite add up. This, again, would make a lot of sense. It's not again, this is a rumor. I've heard it as well, and it would make sense. But I just wanted to address that because too many people were asking me about it. But looking ahead, Andrew seems like he's in a great place. You heard him talk after the game. He worked really hard this summer, and he's going to keep it going. He himself, several times I've heard him make mention of sustaining it. Yeah, it's good. I got to keep doing it. I'm going to keep doing it. And so he has built up to this where it looks like we're going to get 22 Wiggs. I know that that's a myth, a legend, a Sasquatch of a thing. Like you can't. When are you going to ever see that again? Wiggins looks damn good, man, and it's all within the flow of the offense. That's the beauty of it, right? Now, I know some of you are typing right now in the comments before you even finish the video. We ain't gonna talk about Kuminga in his 15 minutes. He only played 15 minutes, and what I would say to you is, are you really surprised at this point? Are you really surprised? You know, I think the block of minutes that Kuminga should be getting that he's not getting consistently is the start of the fourth quarters. And Atlanta, if you want to call it a run, it was more like a drought by us than a run from Atlanta. At the end of the third, the start of the fourth, they cut it to 13, right? And we had gone on a scoring drought. It almost was like 4 minutes. And Steve starts the fourth quarter with Buddy and Kuminga on the bench, our two most potent bench scorers. And I was like, that's certainly a decision by Steve, you know? And look, it worked out. It's slow-mo defensively. I cannot speak highly enough of how good he's been defensively. And Lindy Waters had a huge sequence. Corner three, gets a turnover, and they held the fort down. And then Wiggins kind of took us home there, right? But there were some minutes there it was like, we need like Steph in here? And if it's not Steph, it's the second unit. Don't we need Kuminga getting downhill? And so those are that start of the fourth non-Steph minutes, I think should be carved out for Kuminga to go to work in. I understand he's not always going to close games, but you know, those 5 minutes would add 5 minutes to those 15, and then he'd be at 20 or sometimes 25, right? But it's funny because when Steph got hurt, what was it, like game 2 or 3? And I made the video on Kerr switched the starting lineup. Kuminga was out of there. And I was like, it certainly feels like the first chance Steve got to pull him out of there, he pulled him out of here, and it feels like that's going to be it. And I had a lot of people push back like, you're just making something out of nothing. It's just because Steph's hurt, and when Steph gets back, Kuminga will be back in that starting spot. Okay. Pay attention to what I say sometimes, you know? Like I talk so much, and I'm, you know, we're all right and wrong at times, but, and I've been doing this a long time, bro. I put all my energy, this is my job. I put all my energy and focus on this, and I love it. So it's not like I'm this like super smart at stuff. That's where my focus is. And I have some insights, just like the Melton thing yesterday. I knew it. I didn't want to absolutely say it because I didn't want to be negative about it, but it is what it is. Sometimes you can just read between the lines of things. So that sucks, man. That sucks. That being said, there has never been more of a time where an expiring contract is more valuable. Sure, he would be more valuable if he was healthy. If he was healthy, probably wouldn't trade him. But now he becomes a good-sized salary to move in a potential deal. Do you have to attach picks? Well, it depends what you're getting back. So, you know, it sucks for him and the team. But, yeah, I saw that coming. Let's talk a little bit about these Hawks. Toupe Trey, you know, the jig is up, my guy. Like, at a certain point here, like, I'm going to start to question, are you a winning player? Like, he's super talented. I really like watching him play, how crafty he is, particularly with his passing. But, you know, what do they say in football? Your record is your record. At some point here, the proof's in the pudding. And you have to say the Hawks continually disappoint. Well, he's the face of the franchise. He's the franchise guy. Jalen Johnson, I was disgusted with dude last night. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm watching every Hawks game, but his effort level is unacceptable defensively. It's unacceptable. And when you combine Trey and Jalen Johnson, if those are your two stars, their effort level defensively, it's unacceptable. And it has a trickle-down effect to the rest of the roster. You've driven Quinn Snyder to those glasses. Like, they have more talent. They should be better than they are. They've got a good coach, and you look and you're like, okay, Hunter can defend, Dyson Daniels can defend, you've got Capella, Onyeka, and then you watch them and it's not happening, and it starts with Trey and Jalen Johnson. So I don't know what they're going to do with that. I do like Risache. I am concerned about his development in that environment. But light work, I'll take it, even though there wasn't much drama or competitive spirit. We move on to a 2-game road trip. It's back-to-backs in New Orleans and San Antonio. I'd almost wish we could flip the games and play San Antonio first, because I think that's probably a tougher game. However, this is the third meeting with the Pelicans, and as chipped up as they are, it's tough to beat a team 3 times in such a condensed period of time. There's always that get-back factor. That being said, we're playing well enough. There's no reason we shouldn't get back-to-back dubs on this road trip, right? The strength in numbers. Steph's due maybe a big game, right? Maybe a 40 ball or something like that. But yeah, we move on. We bounce back from the L. And more Trace, please. I know y'all going to say more Kuminga, but more Trace. He was very impressive last night. And it looks like if you can nurture his growth with the ball and getting more minutes and revving his engine, then maybe we do have our starting center. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.